Night, Hill Night. Welcome to my channel. This is my review of Glass. I give the movie a B+. Glass is a 2019 film by writer-director M Night Shyamalan. He is completing what I guess will be known as the Unbreakable trilogy. Way back in the year 2000, he introduced us to the film Unbreakable, about a man named David Dunn who learns that he has super strength and invulnerability, as long as another man named Elijah Price who has very brittle bones but is super intelligent. Then we skip very far ahead to 2016 and we get a movie called Split, about a man who has multiple personalities, including one that is super strength, highly dangerous, highly volatile, and a cannibal. And now we have Glass, in which those three characters are all incarcerated and are undergoing psychic evaluation. The goal of the doctors is to convince these three characters that they do not have superpowers, that they are not special, and that way they can hopefully be returned into regular society after, of course, serving their trials for their various forms of crime. So here is how my review will work. First, I'll mention a couple things that I liked about the movie. Then I'll talk about a couple of things that I didn't like about the movie. Then I'll talk about what's holding this movie back from really being like an A or A+ film. And then finally, I'll offer my verdict. So with that said, sit back, relax, and here's what I thought of Glass. So the first thing I like about this movie is that almost everyone from the previous films has returned to reprise their role. I was very surprised about that, pleasantly surprised about that. It was just really fun to see, like, oh, I saw this person, like, who was that? Oh, that's that character. Oh, that's that character. So it was really nice surprise that almost everyone from the previous films found their way back into this movie. Another thing that I liked was that M Night Shyamalan toned down his twist. For better or for worse, he's known for doing surprise twists in his movies. And even though these movies have twists, they're not trying to be earth-shattering twists. They're just trying to be like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. Oh, okay, that's something unique. And another thing I like is that the movie doesn't have a romance story. That's something that's very fortunate. A lot of movies today, they realize that they don't necessarily need a romance. And even though the whore, you know, the person with multiple personalities, does have a special connection to a character from his movie, and one of those personalities sort of sees her as his girlfriend. Still, there's no like some great romance or anything like that. And even the one character that doesn't come back, her character was killed off on screen. But still, it's sort of introduced, it's just touched upon. This David Dunn's wife, and he is still in a little bit of mourning, but still it's not something that drags down the movie. So yeah, I really like that. No romance, toned down twists, and just about everyone's back for the party. So on the topic of a couple things I didn't like, as much as I'm a fan of M Night Shyamalan, he has a tendency of having dumb things happen in his movies. Normally you don't notice until after you see it a second time. You're sort of like, oh, that's kind of silly, that doesn't make sense, or that's kind of strange. Where in here, there's some pretty, like, what that doesn't make sense kind of moments. For instance, when the horde and the overseer are brought into custody, David Dunn's character, he's in chains. He's got his arms chained. He's got his his ankles chained, and he's walking in the chains. Whereas the horde, he has no chains at all, no restraints or anything. Now they do use a special system of lights that every time it flashes is supposed to bring on another personality. So if one of the dangerous personalities were to come forward, they get his flashlight and calm him down. But still, David Dunn, he's just accused of various forms of assault and vigilantism, whereas the horde is accused of multiple counts of kidnapping, murder, and cannibalism. So he should be in chains is the horde. Or another dumb thing is when an orderly looks into the room of one of the criminals and he sees that there's a nurse down and there's possibly blood. And I'm thinking, okay, now you call security to help, go check on the room. But instead, he goes off on his own. I'm like, why are you calling security? So there's lots of little things like that are just so straight or dumb. Like, come on, man, that's ridiculous. That happens in Shyamalan movies. And unfortunately, in this one, it's a little more apparent as you watch it. Another thing that I didn't like is that there's a tease of a big epic showdown. Now there is a showdown between the hero and the villains, but they're teased that there's going to take place at this special event. And I'm watching the movie thinking like, look, man, this movie doesn't have that kind of budget, does it? They're not going to do something like that. No, and there's some misdirect. And on the one hand, that's fine within the context of the story, but we live in an age of all types of superhero movies, and I'm going to speak more about this later on, but still it's just annoying to be teased about this big, epic, climax, dangerous showdown, even though this movie doesn't have the budget or the means or the tech to even pull that off. So why even bring that up? Why even introduce something like that if you're not going to pay it off? And another thing I didn't like is that one of those twists I was telling you about, it reveals that there's some type of secret society that's trying to keep superheroes and supervillains in check. And I'm thinking, well, first of all, why can't these guys just get an office? They seem to be in these restaurants that wait till everybody else leaves before they can finally have their meetings. But it's like, we don't really need this secret society. Like that's just, it's just adding an extra layer to something that didn't need to be there. You could take that out and the movie would still be fine. This adds something interesting, but it would have been fine enough. Good guy, bad guy, epic showdown. Are superheroes real? Is it all in the mind? That would have been fine. The whole secret society didn't care for that at all. So now I'm going to talk about what's holding this movie back from being something like an A or A+. Even though I am definitely a fan of M Night Shyamalan, and even though this is a very good movie, let me pitch something to you. Okay, just listen to what I'm going to describe. Hey, buddy, I'm thinking about seeing an upcoming movie. Oh, really? Yeah, it's a small movie made by a guy known for creating suspense films, but it's also supposed to be some kind of superhero film. Well, James Wan is known for producing all kinds of horror movies, and he just made Aquaman. Aquaman was outstanding. Is the director of the movie want to see any good? He had a rough period when he tried to branch out from his comfort zone, but when he makes movies that are in his wheelhouse, they have been impressive and critically acclaimed. Is a new movie in his wheelhouse? The movie is a conclusion from a trilogy he's been working on for like 20 years. It should be right up his alley. Ah, keeping things up one's own alley is taught. What kind of heroes and villains are in the movie you want to see? There is one hero and two villains. The first movie introduced the hero and one of the villains. The hero has super strength and is invulnerable. He's called the Overseer. The villain has this bad medical condition, but he's super smart, and his name is Mr. Glass. And they've also been friends at one point, but the bad guy had been tricking the good guy the whole time, so now they're kind of frenemies, I guess? Oh, kind of like some stories of Superman and Lex Luthor? Yeah, I guess so. The second movie was all about the villain. He's a man with multiple personalities. He calls himself the Horde. And one of the personas is a super strong, angry cannibal that kidnaps and eats teenage girls. Wow, that's dark. That's darker than Darkman dark. So this movie is the third movie, and the Overseer, Mr. Glass, and the Horde are in a mental hospital. The doctors want to prove whether or not they have real superpowers or if they're all just delusional. But they really do have superpowers, right? Yeah. And they're all going to wind up finding each other. There will be a fight, although I'm not sure how great it will be. Like I said, it's a modest budget film. You keep saying modest budget. What studio made this movie? Well, there's a big gap of time between the other two movies. The first movie happened to have been made by a subdivision of Disney. The second movie wound up being made by a Universal partner. So the third movie is distributed by Universal in the United States, but by Disney for international markets. Whoa. You're saying that this is basically a crossover movie between two major film studios? Sure, I guess. Oh my goodness, if this movie's successful, then it could lead to all kinds of crazy crossovers. We could have the Hulk versus Frankenstein, or the Fast and Furious with Ghost Rider, or Big Hero 6 meets the Minions. This is great. Who stars in the movie? If it's a small budget, then it must have been really hard to get some big name talent. Actually, it was remarkably simple. Hardly any trouble at all. Oh, really? Well, like I said, the first movie came out nearly 20 years ago, but almost all the actors decided to come back and reprise their roles. Bruce Willis is the hero, James McAvoy and Samuel L. Jackson are the villains. What? Bruce Willis, one of the greatest action stars of all time who did the Die Hard, Expendables, and Sin City movies, James McAvoy from Atomic Blonde in the modern X-Men movies, Samuel L. Jackson, who has been Nick Fury, Frozone, Shaft, Zorg, Afro Samurai, the Octopus, and Mace Windu. Those are the stars of the movie? Yeah. Wow, when's it coming out? In January, which is normally a quiet month for movies, but it will be available in IMAX. January can be a mixed bag, but the movie is going to be the first superhero film of the year. We just had Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Aquaman. In a few months, we will have the Avengers, Men in Black, and 2 types of Captain Marvel films. Plus, they don't offer modest budget movies in IMAX. That kind of format's for truly epic films. The fact that the movie will be coming out in IMAX, it has 3 A-list actors, all with action movie and comic book legacies. It's been written and directed by an acclaimed filmmaker, and it's supposed to be a Universal and Disney-backed project. This should be awesome. Say no more. We are both going to see this movie. We have to see it. Day one, we there. Now see, folks, that feeling that I'm describing, that's how this movie is being promoted, but that's not what Glasses really is, okay? M Night Shyamalan specializes in quiet, suspenseful movies and thrillers. He wants you to listen and to think and contemplate. And that's what Glass is. That's what Unbreakable was. That's what Split was. That's what most of his projects have been. When Unbreakable came out, it came out in 2000. And X-Men were just coming out. And like the superheroes is getting a renaissance. So if Split and Unbreakable and Glass could have somehow shifted back like 6, 7, or even 10 years, in timeline, it would have been perfect, because Glass would be coming out just as the MCU is getting going, just as other superhero projects are getting greenlit and going forward. It would have been a nice little transitional send-off, because that's what this movie wants to be, an alternate take and a transitional send-off. But we've already leaped ahead. We've already seen all types of superhero movies and productions and on TV and in theaters. So this little film, while very good, is just late. It's just late to the party. At best, it should have just been promoted as something like a suspense thriller, because another suspense thriller called Brightburn is coming out. It's basically what if Superman was a dark horror story, but not promoted as what if Superman was a dark horror story, just promoted as a suspense thriller. So yeah, it's just, I went into with proper expectation of an M Night Shyamalan film, but even as I'm watching this, as I'm being teased an epic showdown, that's not going to happen. As I'm watching this epic fight, but it's really just 2 guys slamming each other back and forth, it just doesn't feel as good as it should be in 2019. 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 10 years ago would have been excellent. 2019, nah, it just, it's good, it's just not good enough. M Night Shyamalan is really good in his wheelhouse of suspense and making you think. And all 3 of his movies, Unbreakable, Split, Glass, really make you sit and think, and wonderful. But as an epic climax to a superhero thread, it's just kind of lackluster. I mean, I mentioned the cast of McAvoy and Willis and Samuel L. Jackson, but all 7 major actors in this movie have been in some type of superhero or comic book TV or movie. All 7 of them. And the one actress that didn't return, Robin Wright, she's in the Wonder Woman franchise. So we're living in a world where Aquaman has entered the $1 billion club. We're living in a world where we have Watchmen and Hellboy and Deadpool right alongside Big Hero 6 and The Incredibles and even the Lego Batman movie. We're living in a world where we have 2 very extreme different versions of the Teen Titans. So this movie, while very good, again, it's just not good enough. At best, it should have been promoted as just another wonderful trilogy of suspense thrillers, or it should have been released on something like Netflix. It would have fit right in snug with things like Luke Cage and the Dark Mirror franchise. So this movie is nice, but with this modest budget and this modest setting and this modest tone, it's just not up to snuff with everything that has come out in recent years and what's going to come out later down in this year. So as much as I like the movie, as wonderful it is, and as I highly recommend it, unfortunately I must give Glass a B+. Okay, so that's my review of Glass. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to leave whatever comments you like in the comment section. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, or dislike, share, and subscribe. Once again, I am High Human Mike. Thanks for watching, and remember, find inspiration everywhere.